Alright, yeah, we back. Goku and Marvel episode 11, The Hunter's Shadow. Goku battles Venom suit Spiderman, so let's get straight to it. The docks of Hell's Kitchen reeked of salt and rust, the distant hum of the city a dull roar beneath the screech of gulls. Goku landed lightly on a warehouse rooftop, his lion cloak flaring behind him as he scanned the darkness. Elektra stood at the edge, her crimson bandana stark against the midnight. She didn't turn as he approached, but her fingers flexed imperceptibly around the hilt of her sai. Miss me? You took your time. A beat of silence. Then Goku's tail twitched. Something was off. Elektra was always cool like a viper, but tonight her tension was different, sharper. Goku tilted his head. What's wrong? Elektra exhaled through her nose. Finally turning, moonlight caught the tightness that was in her jaw. Kraven's in the hospital. Goku froze. The words didn't compute at first. Kraven, the man who'd wrestled T-Rexes barehanded, who taught him the ways of the hunt, wasn't just hurt, he was downed? Goku's voice low. Who? Elektra's gaze didn't waver. I don't know. A snarl ripped from Goku's throat before he could stop it. His fists clenched, fingernails biting into his palms. The one who'd known Kraven was his mentor. He'd always known that Kraven was his mentor, and he never thought that he would fall this soon. Goku growled. So where is he? Where's the attacker? And where is Kraven? Then we transition. The private clinics stank of antiseptic and blood. Goku's boots echoed too loudly against the sterile tiles as he stormed down the hallway. Elektra, a silent shadow behind him. The doctors, men with hard eyes and no questions, stepped aside as he shoved open the door to Kraven's room. And there he was. The mighty Sergei Kravinoff, the man who had once wrestled savage land predators with his bare hands, lay motionless beneath crisp white sheets. His skin was shallow, his breathing shallow. Tubes snaked from his arms, machines beeping in steady mocking rhythm. His once proud mane of hair was matted with sweat. His body was wrapped in bandages that did little to hide the damage beneath. Goku's tail went rigid. His fist trembled. Kraven's eyes were dim but still sharp, flickered open at the sound of his approach. A weak smirk tugged at his cracked lips. Dimitri, you've grown. Goku's throat tightened. He hadn't heard him call him that name in years. He stepped forward, fingers curling into the sheets. Who did this to you? Goku's tail lashed behind him. His muscles coiled like springs as he stared at Kraven. His mentor, the man who had once laughed off a Triceratops goring. Now he lay broken, his breathing labored, his body wrapped in bandages that were soaked with antiseptic and stained by old blood. The machines beeped in a steady mocking rhythm, a sound Goku had never associated with the indomitable Kraven before. Kraven coughed, his voice ragged but still laced with that old arrogant fire. You should have seen him, Dimitri. Like a shadow, given teeth. His fingers twitched as if reliving the fight. I fought the spider before, always a nuisance, always predictable, but this time, his jaw tightened. This time the suit was different. It wasn't just cloth. It moved. It breathed even. Goku's eyes narrowed. Breathed. Kraven's chuckle turned into a wheeze. Like living tar. Wrapped around him like a second skin. Stronger than steel, faster than anything I've faced. His fingers clenched weakly. It knew my moves before I made them. Adapted even. Grew claws when it needed to. Strangled me when I got too close. Goku's fist tightened. Where is this creature now? Kraven exhaled, his gaze drifting to the ceiling. Queens, New York. But Dimitri, his voice dropped to a whisper, this isn't just a man you face anymore. It's something else. Something hungry and alien even. Goku's lips curled into a snarl. Goku brushed past Elektra, his tail lashing like a whip behind him. The air between them crackled with tension. His knuckles were white around the hilt of Kraven's old hunting knife. The one he'd gifted him years ago, its blade still sharp, enough to slit a raptor's throat even. Elektra's hand snapped out, fingers clamping around his wrist. Her grip was iron, but Goku didn't flinch. Stop. Think for once. Goku didn't turn. His voice was low, a growl simmering beneath the surface. I am. You're walking into a war you don't understand. Craven lost. What makes you think Craven is an old man? A beat of silence. Elektra's grip loosened slightly, surprise flickering across her face at that statement. Goku finally turned to her, his eyes burning with something feral. Look, Craven's strong, but he's human. I'm not. I don't know what I am, but I know I'm not human. He tapped his chest, where the scars of 100 battles mapped his skin. This thing, this shadow that beat him, it's strong, fast, and adapts. His lips peeled back into a sinister grin that held no warmth. That's good. That means it'll put up a great fight. Elektra studied him, the way his muscles coiled, the way his tail twitched. With barely restrained energy, she'd seen him like this before, but never this focused. Elektra scoffed. Fine. Get yourself killed then. Goku smirked at that. Won't be me. And with that, he vanished into the night, the hunt already singing in his blood. The wind howled past Peter Parker's ears as he swung through the steel canyons of New York, the black tendrils of his suit stretching and reforming with every effortless lunge. The symbiote clung to him like a second skin, humming with power, its alien thoughts whispering in the back of his mind. We are faster. We are stronger. We are unstoppable. Peter grinned beneath the mask, his movements sharper, his reflexes beyond human. The city sprawled beneath him, a playground where he was no longer just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He was something more. Something villains should fear. Remember Craven, the suit murmured, its voice slick and satisfied. The hunter who thought he could break you. Now he's broken instead. Peter's fist clenched. The memory of their battle flashed within his mind. Craven's traps, his knives, his mocking laughter. But this time Peter hadn't held back. The symbiote even amplified him. He dodged shots before they were fired, crushed Craven's weapons in his grip, and when the hunter had lunged for a final strike, you tore him apart. Peter's grin faltered for a split second behind his mask. No, I stopped before. A police scanner cracked in his ear, cutting off the thought. All units. Rhino spotted at First National Bank. Hostages inside. Peter's head snapped toward downtown, his lenses narrowing. The symbiote pulsed eagerly. Another predator, another victory. With a flick of his wrist, he launched himself into a dizzying arc, the suit's ink tendrils flaring behind him like a living shadow. Let's show them what happens when you mess with Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's city. The city blurred beneath him, but for the first time Peter didn't feel the thrill of the swing, just the hunger for the fight that awaited ahead. And somewhere in Queens, a Saiyan's tail was twitching as well. The bank's marble walls exploded inward as Rhino barreled through, his armored hide scattering debris like confetti. Sacks of cash in one fist. He barely had time to grin before his instincts screamed, danger. There, perched atop the shattered pillar, was Spider-Man, but not the Spider-Man he knew. This one was clad in an inky black suit that clung to every muscle like a liquid shadow. The white spider emblem stretched unnaturally across his chest. The lenses of his mask were larger, sharper, almost predatory, and the voice, Hey, Alexi. Spider-Man's tone was a far cry from the usual quips. It was low, smooth, laced with something that made Rhino's spine prickle. You know it's sad what I'm about to put down an endangered species. A beat. The symbiote's tendrils writhed along Spider-Man's arms, forming jagged claws for a split second before melting back into smooth darkness. Rhino had fought Spider-Man a dozen times. He'd been mocked, webbed up, and even outsmarted, but he'd never felt like prey until now. Spider-Man tilted his head. Rhino took a stance. You ain't scary. Spider-Man tilted his head. Funny. Craven thought the same thing. The name hit Rhino like a freight train. Craven the Hunter, who'd once took the Rhino down once before. Rumors said Spider-Man had put him in the ICU. The symbiote's laugh echoed in Peter's skull as Rhino's fingers tightened around the money bag. Scared now? Spider-Man whispered. The moment Rhino tensed, a blur of gold and black dropped from the shattered ceiling like a meteor. Goku's tail whipped behind him for balance as he landed between the two, his feet barely making a sound on the marble floor. Before Rhino's sluggish brain could process the intrusion, Goku's fingers darted forward, not with brute force but with lethal precision. Shang-Chi had drilled it into him. His knuckles drove into the pressure point just below Rhino's jaw, where Craven had once taught him the thickest armor couldn't shield the nerves that were beneath in this area. Crack! Rhino's eyes rolled back, his massive frame swayed like a felled tree, the sack of cash slipping from his grip as he collapsed, face first into the rubble. Dust plumed around him and the impact shook the floor. Goku didn't even glance at the unconscious brute that was before him. His gaze was locked onto the figure in black, his tail flicked with anticipation. Spider-Man's lenses widened just slightly. Behind the mask, the symbiote's surface rippled, tendrils coiling like serpents ready to strike. Who the hell are you? Peter's voice was darker, rougher, the suit's influence thickening his words. Goku cracked his knuckles, grinning. I am the son of the hunter. Spider-Man's lenses narrowed as he studied the strange, wild-haired teenager standing between him and the unconscious Rhino, the kid who couldn't have been older than 16 years old. And he had a tail, an actual twitching monkey-like tail, and the way he moved, it was very fast, too precise, like a predator that was sizing up his prey. Peter's lips curled beneath the mask, the symbiote pulsed against his skin, whispering in his ear, arrogant, weak, crush him. Peter's lips curled beneath the mask. Let me guess, Spider-Man drawled, tilting his head with a mocking tilt that wasn't entirely his own. Fanboy moment. Saw me on the news and just had to jump in. He flexed his fingers, the symbiote's inky tendrils slithering around his wrists like living shackles. Well, sorry to break it to you, kid, but I don't need a sidekick, especially not one dressed like Tarzan's reject. Goku didn't rise to the taunt. His grin didn't waver, but his eyes were sharp, calculating even, locked onto Peter's with an intensity that made the symbiote's surface ripple uneasily. I didn't do it to help you, Goku said, rolling his shoulders. I just didn't want any distractions. He took a step forward, his tail flicking behind him like a whip. You took down Craven. That means you're strong. Peter blinked. Craven? That's what this was about? The hunter had been a nuisance, sure, but beating him hadn't been that much of a challenge, not with the symbiote amplifying his strength, his reflexes, and his anger. Yeah, well, join the club, Spider-Man scoffed, shifting into a loose, ready stance. The symbiote's claws formed and dissolved at his fingertips restlessly. There are plenty of guys stronger than Craven in my city. Difference is they know better than to pick fights with me. Goku's grin widened. Good. Then this shouldn't be boring. Spider-Man didn't wait for another word. His body moved. Before his mind even registered the decision. The symbiote surged like with his momentum, amplifying his speed in a blur of inky black as his legs snapped forward in a vicious roundhouse kick. The air itself seemed to scream as his foot rocketed towards Goku's head, fast enough to shatter concrete. Goku's eyes widened fast. This guy was faster than Stark's repulsors, faster than Shang-Chi's pressure point strikes. His instincts screamed, and his body reacted before thought could catch up. He ducked, feeling the displaced air ruffle his wild hair as Spider-Man's heel whistled just inches above his scalp. The force of the near miss sent a shockwave through the ruined bank, crackling the marble floors beneath them. Goku twisted mid-crouch, tail lashing for balance as he countered with a sweeping kick aimed at Spider-Man's ankles. But the black suit vigilante was already gone, launching himself backward with unnatural agility, flipping mid-air to perch on a broken pillar like a nightmare was given form. The symbiote's surface rippled, its white spider emblem stretching grotesquely as Peter tilted his head. Not bad, he mused, his voice dripping with condescension. Spider-Man's lenses flared, though. They flared wide as Goku's counterattack came faster than he expected. A brutal straight punch aimed straight for his ribs, Even with the symbiote's enhanced reflexes, Peter barely had time to react. His spider senses screamed in the back of his skull, a split-second warning that sent his body twisting sideways. Goku's fists grazed the inky black suit, the sheer force of the near miss sending a ripple through the symbiote's surface like water struck by stone. The air pressure alone made Peter's ears pop. Danger, the symbiote hissed, his voice a guttural growl in his mind. This one is not human. Peter flipped backward, putting distance between them, but Goku was already adjusting, his tail whipping behind him for balance as he pivoted on one foot, his other leg snapping out in a lightning-fast sidekick. Spider-Man barely arched back in time, feeling the displaced wind from the kick brush against his chest. Goku's eyes widened as the inky black tendrils erupted from Spider-Man's body like living whips. Too fast, too fluid. One moment he was mid-kick momentum carrying him forward. The next, the symbiote's slick muscular coils wrapped around his torso, his arms, his legs, constricting with terrifying force. The pressure was immense, like being crushed in the grip of a savage land anaconda. Only this creature moved with even more unnatural precision. Goku grunted, muscles straining against the alien bonds, but the more he struggled, the tighter the symbiote squeezed. His ribs creaked under the pressure, his breath came in sharp, ragged bursts. The tendrils pulsed, warm and unsettlingly alive, their surface shifting like liquid metal hardening into steel cables of blackness. Spider-Man loomed closer, his white lenses narrowing in cold amusement. Yeah, that's the thing about this suit, he mused, voice dripping with dark satisfaction. It has some reach. Goku's tail lashed uselessly, pinned against his thigh. His Saiyan instinct screamed. This wasn't just strength or speed. This thing thought. It learned. Then the symbiote yanked him off his feet and slammed him, spine first, into the marble floor, hard enough to crater it. Dust plumed around him, and his vision began to swim. Goku's breath came in ragged gasps as the symbiote's tendrils coiled tighter around him, their grip like living steel. His muscles burned with strain, resisting. Every flex, every twist only made the black bonds constrict further. The more he struggled, the more the alien substance seemed to learn, adjusting to his movements, to counter his movements. His tail thrashed uselessly against his thigh, and it was pinned in place as well. Spider-Man loomed over him, his white lenses narrowing with smug satisfaction. The symbiote's surface rippled in its inky darkness, swallowing the dim light of the ruined bank. Goku's mind raced, torn between frustration and something else. Fascination. This wasn't just a fighter, this was something new. Don't worry, Curious George, Spider-Man taunted, his voice dripping with condescension. I'll give you a hand. Before Goku could retort, Spider-Man's fist, wrapped in the symbiote's grotesque clawed mass, slammed into his face. Crack! The impact was like a freight train. Goku's head snapped back. His vision exploded into white stars. The force rippled him free from the tendril's grasp, sending him hurtling backward like a rag doll. Glass shattered as he crushed through the bank's already broken windows, his body tearing through the air before smashing into the facade of a vacant office building across the street. Boom! Bricks crumbled, dust billowed. Goku tumbled through the cubicles and drywall before finally skidding to a stop in a heap of debris. His ears rang, his face throbbed, and his lips tasted like copper. But his grin, it only widened. Okay, he coughed, shaking off the rubble. Now we're talking. Goku spat up a glob of blood onto the shattered floor, his grin never wavering even as his split lips stung. The taste of copper was familiar. Craving had taught him to savor it, to let the pain sharpen his focus. His finger moved to the clasp of his lion's mane cloak, the golden brown fur matted with dust and debris from the fight. With a sharp flick, he unclasped it, letting the heavy pelt slide from his shoulders and pull at his feet. The moment it hit the ground, his muscles coiled, his stance shifting into something lower, deadlier. Across the ruined office, Spider-Man stepped through the gaping hole in the wall, his black suit rippling like with the same liquid shadow as before. Under the flickering fluorescent lights, the symbiote's white spider emblem stretched unnaturally with each step, its surface pulsing as if alive. Peter's lenses narrowed, taking in the sight. Goku in his animal shirt and pants only now, his tail flicking behind him like a metronome, counting down to violence. "You're still standing," Spider-Man mused, his voice laced with Symbiote's guttural undertone. "I guess I'll have to fix that." Goku rolled his shoulders, cracking his neck. "You talk too much." His eyes locked onto Spider-Man's every twitch, every shift in weight. This wasn't just another brawl. That suit, it moved on its own. It learned, and if Kraven, the greatest hunter he'd ever known, had fallen to it, then he wouldn't hold back here. The air between them grew heavy, charged. Somewhere around them, a broken pipe hissed steam. Then Goku's eyes narrowed as he circled Spider-Man, his boots crunching over broken glass and debris. Every step was calculated, his muscles tight, his tail twitching behind him as he searched for an opening. A tail, a hesitation, anything, but Spider-Man didn't move like any opponent he's faced before. There was no wasted motion, no predictable rhythm. The symbiote clung to him like a second skin, its surface rippling with eerie sentience, shifting subtly in response to Goku's own movements. Then, whip. A tendril lashed out from Spider-Man's shoulder without warning, razor sharp and faster than a bullet. Goku barely jerked his head aside in time, feeling the air part as the black spike grazed his cheek. Drawing a thin line of blood, he barely had time to register the sting before another shot from Spider-Man's hip, then another from his calf, each strike precise and angles unpredictable. Goku flipped backward, his tail whipping for balance as he dodged and weaved, but the symbiote adapted in real time. The tendrils didn't just attack, they herded him and they cut off escape routes, forcing him into tighter spaces where it was harder for him to dodge the assault. Spider-Man didn't even need to move. The suit reacted to Goku's intentions before he fully committed to them, as if it could see the fight unfolding before it even happened. Goku's teeth gritted. It was like fighting two enemies at once. A tendril wrapped around his ankle mid-dodge. Yank! And the ground rushed up to meet him as he hit the ground. Goku's ribs screamed as Spider-Man's tendril whipped him off his feet, slamming him back first into the ground again, hard enough to crater the floor. Dust and debris exploded upward, his vision swimming, but pain had long since stopped being a deterrent. It was fuel. As the symbiote reeled him in like a fish on a line, Goku's fingers snapped out, clamping around the thick black tendril with a grip that could crush bone. Spider-Man's lenses flared in surprise. No one had ever grabbed a symbiote mid-strike before. "Your turn," Goku growled, and with a roar he twisted his entire body, muscles streaming as he heaved Spider-Man off his feet. The symbiote's connection became its downfall. Spider-Man had no time to retract the tendril, before Goku's savage yank sent him hurtling upward like a rag doll. Crack! Spider-Man tore through the ceiling drywall and bricks shattering in his wake. Sunlight steamed through a new hole as Goku crouched, his tail lashing once. Then he launched himself upward in pursuit, kicking off so hard the floor beneath him cracked. Goku burst through the shattered ceiling, his boots skidding across the rooftop's gravel as he scanned the skyline. Then movement. High above, perched atop a radio tower like a monstrous gargoyle, Spider-Man loomed, the symbiote's inky surface pulsed in the sunlight, its white spider emblem stretched unnaturally across his chest, his lenses narrowed, his voice dripping with disdain as he called down, "Give it up, Tarzan. You're out of your league." Goku's tail flicked behind him, his muscles coiled. "I think we're just getting started." Spider-Man tilted his head, the symbiote's tendrils slithering around his arms like living serpents. "That's the thing. You don't get it, do you? My entire suit? It is a weapon. It's alive. It thinks. It adapts." He flexed his fingers, and the black mass reshaped into jagged claws. "Every second we fight, it's learning from you. Your moves, your tells, your weak spots." A flicker of doubt crossed Goku's face. He'd fought smart opponents before, T'Challa, Stark, but this was different. The symbiote wasn't just predicting him, it was evolving in real time. Spider-Man crouched, his voice dropping to a guttural growl. "You threw a few good punches. Congrats. But from here," the symbiote surged, encasing his fists, grotesque spiked gauntlets, "I'm going to stop holding back." The symbiote's taunts echoed in Goku's ears, but his mind flashed back to Wakanda, to T'Challa's wise words as they sparred beneath the golden sunrise. "You are not normal, Dimitri," the Black Panther had said, his vibranium claws retracting as Goku lay panting in the dirt. "So do not pretend to be." Goku had scowled, wiping blood from his lip. "What's that supposed to mean?" T'Challa's gaze was unyielding. "You fight like a regular man, but you are not one. Your body is not regular. It may not even be human. Your instincts are definitely inhuman. Yet you limit yourself to human techniques." He gestured to his own suit. "I do not brawl like a common thug. My suit is an extension of my will. Your body is also unique in that way. Stop holding back." Goku had frowned. But Craven taught me. Craven trained a hunter," T'Challa interrupted. "I'm training a warrior. Now again, move like a panther. Make your body your suit." The memory sharpened into clarity as Goku stared up at Spider-Man, the symbiote's inky tendrils writhing with predatory hunger. "Stop holding back." A slow grin spread across Goku's face. Spider-Man's lenses narrowed. "And what's so funny?" Goku cracked his neck, rolling his shoulders as his muscles tensed, now strained both with anticipation. "You're right," he admitted, his voice dropping into a something feral. "I've been fighting like a regular human this whole time." The air around Goku crackled. A white-hot aura erupted from his body, swirling like a miniature storm. Pebbles and debris lifted off the rooftop, caught in the sudden vortex of wind. His wild hair stood on end, charged with an energy he didn't even fully understand yet. Only that it burned within his veins, begging to be unleashed. Spider-Man's spider sense screamed. His lenses flared wide as every hair on his body stood up. The symbiote recoiled, its surface rippling in agitation. "Danger!" it hissed, its voice a guttural snarl in Peter's mind. "This one is different." Goku grinned, his teeth bared in a feral snarl. "You said your whole body's a weapon." His muscles bulged, veins standing out like cables under his skin. The aura around him pulsed raw and untamed. "If your body's a weapon, then I'll make mine the armor." And then, boom! The rooftop shattered beneath Goku's feet as he launched himself forward, faster than before, faster than thought. Spider-Man was barely able. He barely had time to react before Goku was there, fist drawn back, the air itself screaming across his knuckles. The symbiote reacted instantly. Black tendrils surged forward like a storm of spears, each one razor sharp and faster than bullets. But this time, they didn't connect. Goku's blazing aura flared brighter as the tendril struck it, and recoiled violently, as if hitting an invisible force field. The symbiote shrieked, its inky surface writhing in pain, tendrils smoking where they touched the searing energy. Spider-Man's lenses flared wide behind the mask. His spider sense screamed, a split second too late. "What the?" Goku's fist plowed through the remaining defenses like a meteor. Spider-Man barely managed to cross his arms in time, the symbiote thickening into a dense shield over his forearms. Crack! Boom! The impact sent Spider-Man hurtling backward, his body carving a trench through the rooftop as he skidded. The symbiote groaned, its shield splintering under the force, black droplets spraying out like ink. Peter gasped, his arms numb, the suit's pain whispers filling his skull. "Impact exceeds my parameters. Cellular damage detected. We must adapt. We must adapt." Goku landed lightly, his aura flickering like a living flame, his tail lashed behind him, his grin sharp as a blade. "Let's see you learn from that," he taunted. Spider-Man pushed himself up, the symbiote's surface bubbling as it struggled to reform itself. For the first time since bonding, Peter began to feel doubt. The symbiote's thoughts churned into frenzy. Adapt, reassess, survive. But Goku gave it no time to strategize. The moment Spider-Man's boots scraped backward from the last blow, the Saiyan was already moving forward. His aura flared like a comet as he closed the distance in a single explosive stride. Spider-Man's spider senses shrieked, a warning, but his body couldn't keep up. Goku's forehead snapped forward like a battering ram, cracking squarely between the lenses of the black mask. Crunch! The impact reverberated through both of them. Spider-Man's head snapped back, the symbiote's surface rippling like disturbed ink. Disturbed ink as the force rattled Peter's skull, his vision swimming. White stars bursting behind his eyelids, the symbiote screeched in his mind, its cohesion flickering for a split second. The mask retracted involuntarily, revealing Peter's dazed, bloody face as he flew backwards. Spider-Man's body tumbled through the air like a rag doll. The symbiote's inky tendrils flaring wildly as it struggled to regain control of its environment. The wind howled in his ears, the ground rushing up to meet him until, with a bone-jarring crash, he slammed onto the hood of a speeding semi-truck, crossing the Williamsburg Bridge. Metal crumpled beneath him, the windshield exploding into a spiderweb of cracks as the vehicle swerved violently. Horns blared, tires screeched, and traffic snarled to a halt at the oncoming chaos. Goku landed moments later, his boots striking the asphalt with a thud that sent cracks spiderwebbing outward. His aura, a blazing white-hot corona of raw energy, flickered around him like a living storm, casting jagged shadows across the bridge. His tail lashed behind him, his muscles contracted. Every exhale steaming in the cold air. Cars skidded to avoid him, drivers shouted in panic, but his gaze never wavered from the wreckage ahead. Spider-Man groaned, pushing himself up from the ruined truck hood. The symbiote slithered across his body, stitching together tears in its inky flesh, but its movements were sluggish now, even slightly uncertain. Peter's mask had covered his face back up by the time he hit that truck. His eyes looked onto Goku's glowing silhouette. You. What are you? Peter spat, wiping his mouth. The symbiote pulsed around him, his voice a guttural growl in his mind. Not human. Not like us. Danger. Goku grinned, cracking his knuckles. The aura around him flared brighter, humming with untamed power. I guess your suit's not the only body that's full of surprises. The bridge trembled beneath them as engines revved, bystanders screamed, and two titans prepared to clash again. The bridge trembled as the two warriors lunged at each other. Goku was a blazing comet of raw energy, and Spider-Man a living shadow of inky tendrils. Peter's mind raced even as his body moved, the symbiote feeding him tactical data in milliseconds. Direct attacks had failed. Goku's aura repelled the tendrils like fire against oil, but brute force alone wasn't the answer. And at the last possible second, Spider-Man twisted. The symbiote's tendrils lashed out, not to strike, but to coil around Goku's torso and limbs, binding him mid-air like a puppet that was on strings. At the same time, Peter's fist rocketed forward, aiming to exploit the split-second immobilization. Goku's eyes widened. Clever. His muscles bulged, veins standing out like cables as he wrenched one arm free with a snarl. The symbiote's grip held firm everywhere else, but one arm was all he needed. Their fists crossed paths. Peter's knuckles grazed Goku's cheekbone. At the same moment, Goku's punch slammed squarely into Spider-Man's jaw. Crack! The difference was night and day. Peter's punch was sharp, precise, the symbiote's strength behind it, but Goku's strike carried the full weight of his Saiyan physiology, amplified by the searing energy of his awakened aura. Spider-Man's head snapped back violently, the symbiote's mass distorting under the impact. The tendrils binding Goku's recoiled instinctively, their cohesion shattered by the feedback of Peter's pain. The black-suited hero hurtled backward, skidding across the bridge's asphalt like a stone across water, trailing sparks of inky black droplets. Goku touched his stinging cheek, licking the blood from his split lip. His grin returned, sharper than ever. Now that was a real hit. The symbiote's voice was a guttural snarl in Peter's mind. Its rage was boiling over. Hurt him. Break him. Make him kneel. Spider-Man's fingers twitched, tendrils of living darkness lashing out like whips, but not at Goku. Instead, they coiled around the nearest abandoned cars, their metallic frames groaning under the symbiote's monstrous strength. With a roar, Peter heaved, hurling the vehicles one after another like cannonballs. Goku's eyes tracked the first car, a yellow taxi hurtling toward him. His aura flared, raw energy crackling around his forearm as he swung. Shink! His ki-charged arm sliced through the taxi like a blade through paper. The severed halves erupted into a fireball behind him, the shockwave rippling through his wild hair, and he didn't even flinch. The second car was a delivery van. Followed instantly, Goku pivoted, driving his elbow into its grill. The van folded around the impact before detonating shrapnel, pelting his bare arms harmlessly. The third car from above, Spider-Man had leaped using the symbiote's tendrils to slam it downward like a hammer. Goku crossed his arms, ki surging into a makeshift shield. Boom! The explosion swallowed him whole, flames licking at his silhouette. For a heartbeat, Spider-Man hovered, panting until the smoke parted. Goku stood unscathed, his aura a blazing corona steel. His grin was feral, his eyes lit with battle lust. The bridge was a war zone. People had abandoned their vehicles. Flames licked at twisted metal. Smoke choked the air. Screams of panicked civilians drowning beneath the battle that was above. Goku's fists were still clenched, his aura a crackling storm of energy. As he locked eyes with Spider-Man, the thrill of the fight was singing into his veins. Then a sound cut through the chaos. A child's cry. His head snapped toward the source. A little girl no older than 5 crouched beside an overturned gas truck. Its ruptured tank spewing fuel. Flames from the wreckage crept closer, the heat already warping the air. The girl was frozen in terror, her tiny hands pressed over her ears, her sobs lost in the roar of the inferno. But Goku heard it. Goku's breath hitched as he remembered his mentor's words. Protect the young, Dimitri, Kraven's voice echoed in his mind, sharp as a blade. For they are the future. They carry the potential to surpass even us. The word struck deeper than any punch. Spider-Man lunged, then stopped, his lenses widening as Goku moved backward. In a flash of white light, the sand crossed the distance, his body shielding the girl just as the flames reached the fuel. Boom! The explosion swallowed them whole. When the smoke cleared, Goku knelt in the crater with his back scorched, his arms wrapped tightly around the trembling child. His aura had dulled because he used it to protect the girl instead of himself. His muscles screaming from the blast, but the girl was unharmed. Spider-Man stood frozen, the symbiote's aggression faltering at the chaos. The explosion's roar faded into ringing silence as Peter Parker stared at the scene before him. Goku, battered and scorched, cradling the sobbing girl that was in his arms. The Saiyan's aura flickered weakly, his back blackened from taking a full force of the blast. The child's tiny fingers clutched his torn shirt, her tear-streaked face buried against his chest, safe and alive because of him. The realization hit Peter like a freight train. His breath came in ragged gasps, the symbiote's whispers turning shrill in his skull. Kill him. Crush him. He's weak. Now. But the voice sounded distant, warped like static over a dying radio. His lenses flickered, the suit's grip on his mind slipping as another sound cut through the haze. The girl's whimper. I didn't. Peter's hands trembled. The bridge was a hellscape of his making. Twisted metal spreading fire. The innocent people were fleeing. He had done this. Not the suit. The symbiote had fed his rage, but the choices were his own. Then heat. A wall of flames surged from the ruptured gas truck, licking close to where he stood. The symbiote recoiled instinctively, its surface bubbling at the edges. No. Fire. Weakness. Retreat. Peter's jaw clenched. He knew what he had to do. With a roar, he lunged into the inferno. The symbiote shrieked as the flames seared its inky flesh tendrils, flailing like dying serpents. Peter gritted his teeth against the agony, his own skin blistering as he clawed at the suit's edges. Get off! He ripped at the mask, the black ooze resisting him, fighting him, but the pain was clarity. The fire burned away the lies, the anger, and the hunger. Molten tendrils snapped free, sloughing off his body like scorched tar. The last of the symbiote's grip tore loose. with the final ear-piercing screech, its remnants reeling as they retreated into the shadows of the bridge's underbelly. Peter collapsed onto his knees, his homemade red and blue suit exposed beneath its patches of burned symbiote. His hands shook, his vision swam, but for the first time in weeks, his mind was his own. Across the wreckage, Goku watched, his glowing eyes narrowing. The girl in his arms thanked him and then ran to her mother, and the woman's voice was in the distance, said, "Riri, are you okay?" But Goku looked to face the now freed Peter Parker, letting them go back, get it back into their car. Goku blinked. His glow aura flickered out as he stared at the man who took his mask off to reveal to him Peter Parker. The guy looked exhausted, bruised, burned, but his eyes were clear for the first time since the fight began, and he was thanking him? "You saved her," Peter rasped, wiping soot from his face. His voice was raw, but there was something lighter in it now, like a weight had been lifted. "I was so wrapped up in that thing and proving I was the strongest that I didn't even see." He glanced at the fleeing civilians, the firefighters already rushing in. His throat tightened. "You reminded me what a real hero looks like." Goku tilted his head, tail twitching behind him. "Hero?" He barked a laugh, rolling his shoulders. "Nah, I just didn't want some kid to get crispy before ever getting to see her full potential." He jabbed a finger at Spider-Man's chest. "You're the one who's supposed to be the hero, right? You sure are dressed like one. Elektra tells me you guys like to wear costumes and stuff." Peter was surprised by the mindset of this guy who wasn't that younger than himself. Before responding, "That suit, I let it twist me into something else." He met Goku's gaze, a spark of his old humor returning. "Guess I owe you for snapping me out of it, even if you did rearrange my face in the process." Goku grinned, cracking his knuckles. You'll heal. "And hey, now that you're not all goo covered, we can have a rematch someday." Peter groaned, but he was smiling. "Yeah, no thanks. Next time I'm sticking to punching guys that dress up in Rhino costumes." As sirens wailed in the distance, Goku turned to leave. Goku smirked, his tail flicking behind him as he turned to leave. Spider-Man's voice stopped him. "You might not think you're a hero," Peter called out, wiping blood from his split lip, "but you just earned yourself a friend." Goku paused, glancing over his shoulder. The word "friend" sat strangely in his mind. Craven had been his mentor / guardian. Elektra was a partner in arms. T'Challa was his teacher. But a friend? I guess Jubilee was a friend, but she never said it explicitly. So that was something new. Someone who didn't just respect his strength or fear his instincts, but who thanked him for something beyond battle. He grinned, sharp and feral. Guess that means I get a friendly rematch next time." Peter groaned, but there was a lightness to it now, a relief that hadn't been there before. Yeah, just give me a week to recover at least. First. With the final wave, Goku leaped off the bridge, the wind whipping past him as he vanished into the city skyline. Peter watched him go, his mind still reeling. The kid, no, Kravenov, was an enigma. Brutal, wild, but with a code underneath it all. He'd come from vengeance, but in the end he'd saved more people than Peter had that night. As the first responders arrived, Peter tugged at his torn mask back on, his body aching but his spirit lighter. The symbiote was gone, the fight was over, and somewhere out there that man with the lion's cloak was already hunting his next challenge. And Peter began to help the responders clean up the mess. Peter couldn't help but smile while doing it. "See you around, Kravenov." And that'll be the end of that episode. Hope you guys liked it. Wow, it's 44 minutes. Anyways, like, share, and subscribe. Till the next one. Peace.